All right, guys, we're back again. COVID Cabal, episode 158, January 18th, 2026. Eurocucks on Suicide Watch. And when we talk about Suicide Watch today, we're not just talking about them taking their own life. We're talking about the suicide vest, is what we're talking about here. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. This is going to be a good show today. Kova Cabal, let's go. Let's go, Kova Cabal. See, I don't know if you guys noticed. So if you are currently watching the COVID Cabal channel, if you are currently, hold on, I'm just putting this on Twitter. If you guys have subscribed to the COVID Cabal channel, which you obviously should be doing right now, do it right now. Don't miss COVID Cabal. Boost the channel up. We need to get this COVID Cabal channel moving. This is what it's all about. But one of the things I want you guys to really, really like internalize here. And hold on, I'm trying to get my COVID Cabal link here so I can drop it in the chat. So all my guys in the chat, where are my guys in the chat? Subscribe to the channel. You gotta subscribe to it. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention though with this channel. Is that I have found all of the COVID Cabal videos. I found them all. If there's one missing, I don't, it must have been like a Twitch stream, but I'm pretty sure I got every single one of them. So we've got now a whole list. Like I can only upload 10 videos a day, but by next show, you're going to have every COVID Cabal on that channel. You can go back right now. You can go back to the very beginning. March 14th, 2020. You can go back to the very beginning. I got very lucky because I found, I think I told you this already, so I don't want to last show, but I found an old link in like a Twitter archive to Periscope, and it's like this hidden thing that shows all of the live stream videos that you have, and it's still in Periscope. You can't like get into this if you just log into Periscope because Periscope's defunct. But I found this like backdoor link, and then I was able to start downloading the videos. So I was actually able to preserve it. And I had saved the Twitch ones. So it's pretty cool, guys. And it's on the COVID Cabal channel. Right now, I'm like, we're at Thanksgiving 2020. So like things are intense. You can feel the suspense of the 2020 election. Well, this is what's so cool is that we are in the thick of it. We are in the thick of it right now. That's what's happening. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing to just see like the full completion of everything, how far we've come. But it's cool. Like I've categorized it from seasons. So season 1 is basically March to March, right? Because even though I was thinking about ending it when I got arrested, like the goodbye gets a good ending, right? But there were a few others after that I did while Periscope was still live. And it just made sense to kind of continue them. But then I go through a big break. I don't start doing again until July. And I do a few because I think Periscope was still working when it wasn't supposed to. And then we got into on Twitch, and we went and did that all the way up until November 2022. And I wish I had said something like ending it, but I had so much intense crap coming for me in November. I think that was like, this is it. I can't do the show anymore because I had a new judge. It was like, yeah, you're going to have to fight for your freedom right now. The game's over, basically. So, and Twitch was giving me a hard time, I remember. So that's season 1.5. That's about 40 videos. So about 80 videos, season 1, 40 videos, season 1.5, called the bridge season, right? But now we're on season 2, gentlemen. We're on season 2. So I have a Crow's Hermitage today, a good Euro wine. I'm a big fan of Crow's Hermitage. And just because we're about to hate on Emmanuel Macron doesn't mean we're hating on French wine. We're gonna hate on the French government. And that's, I want to emphasize this. I love my I got a lot of euros Got a lot of Euros in the CABAL crew. Obviously, I love you guys. Obviously, you're not who I'm talking about. You guys know who I'm talking about. You live around them. You know who I'm talking about. Speaking of the based Euros, we got Romeo here. What's the mood like in Lublin regarding Greenland, Ukraine? Um, well, it's interesting. What I'll tell you about Greenland is no one's really saying much about it over here. Poland, did not send any troops over there. Oh, I shouldn't have done this. I'm about to drink wine. Well, Poland it did not send any troops to Greenland. Poland is not. Poland has no. What the heck is going on here? It's like I'm being called right now or something like that. Poland is being. Sorry about that. I don't know. My accountant called me. I think you got the date wrong. We're supposed to talk later this week. Poland has no interest or illusions about trying to compete with the United States. That is not the objective of their government. Now, it might be the objective of Donald Tusk, but I will give Donald Tusk this credit, which is that he knows his own political he knows his own political base. So he knows how far he can move Poland and how far where he can't move them. And the president, of course, is Nawrocki, is a big Trump ally. So Poland is much more the focus of Poland, and the use of Poland by the EU is going to be as the main force against Russia if they manage to expand this war. That's the entire thing. Poland is not going to antagonize the United States. To them, it's actually a very serious matter. But for the LARPers in Scandinavia and in the UK and Germany and France, for those people in government, they still believe that they are this, incredible force in the world. And really, that's what I want to talk about. That's a lot of what I want to talk about. This is also very true about Ukraine. I was looking at some of the maps, and it is looking pretty rough. I don't know if they're immediately going to collapse, but you notice you're not hearing very much about it. Russia's making incremental progress on the ground. I think a lot of this stuff is more timing related. I do think we have a really good chance that 2026 is going to be the year of collapse, because I'll tell you this, the Ukrainians, and there's Ukrainians all over here, they don't speak positively about Zelensky. I'm not saying that means they like Russia or support Russia, but they do not support the war, and they do not support Zelensky. Full stop. So anybody who's thinking that the people have any real investment with this, and that's what makes me think that things could change very, very quickly. And you know what, Romeo, 2 to 3 weeks, we're looking at a lot of things are going to be changing by mid-February. So who knows what's going to happen with it. Ukraine is suffering major energy issues, blackouts, power outages. I want to talk tonight, guys. I want to talk tonight mostly about Greenland, these economic retaliation, the planned insurrection, and I also want to talk about something a little bit more afield, if we have some time, about thinking more like down the road. So I never tried the wine, by the way. Smells good. Gorgeous. Chapoutier is he's a well-known producer in the Northern Rhone. I will say that the wine's not very distinctive. What I mean by that is it's good, but it's you can tell this is not boutique, what I'm trying to say. Well, Victor, I may do that. Here's the thing. And actually, I do have a point here. I'm not sure if I uploaded it, but there is I have not like distanced myself from that, okay? But I think that part of my own spiritual development has been a lot more grounded and anchoring. And first off, I've seen a lot in the new age circles, just a lot of like Looney Tune stuff over time. Um, there's still real things in there, but a lot of it is very unanchored. And I think a lot of it's frankly bullshit. But I'm really into astrology. I'm really into astrology, and there are karmic purposes of being here. I've talked about this on my other show, that one of the reasons that I feel so, positive and happy in general is I know I am fulfilling my karmic purpose. So like the role I've been given, the talents I've been given, everything is being perfectly utilized for um, God's will on here. So I have, and you can look at a lot of these things, a lot of the consequences that are happening. These are going to be karmic consequences for people. For instance, a lot of the people who were riding high on ego when Biden first came into power, during the election theft, etc., the people who like their nastiness was apparent from the first Trump election, but really revealed itself during COVID, right? Those people are absolutely in the middle of experiencing major, major karmic consequences for all of that. Let's put it that way. There's they are not things are not going to be going very well for them. It's not going to be going well for them, and you can see it already. It's not going well for them. A lot of them are having, and it's not just about like health issues and stuff. It's because I'm not like trying to wish death upon anybody because they made bad medical decisions, even if they were really shitty about it all. But what I mean, and we know people in real life who have, died from it, who have had fertility issues almost certainly from it. Okay. But the big thing, this is the big thing. These people don't know, like, reality's changing. Reality is changing. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I don't know if you guys are feeling the same thing, but manifestation is happening much faster. I have noticed myself, and I know some of it's from personal development, but I have noticed myself a marked increase in my ability to be able to perceive and to see basically into the future. And that sounds really cocky. It sounds really cocky. And I don't really mean it in a cocky way. It's actually like unnerving for me. But the point is that what I'm trying to say with it, it's not that I'm became some sort of, because I think it's happening to a lot of different people. I've heard that people are able to manifest a lot faster than they used to be able to. But what I see is like this sort of gift that's developing in me, and I think in others as well, is allowing, it's almost like a guidance system. So it's like as things fall apart, it's like, don't worry. I'm going to tell you exactly where to go. You know where to go. You know to do this next. You know to do this next. It's a very faith-based way of operating. And actually it reminds me a lot of some of the things that are talked about even in the Bible, right? How God would, you know, told Abraham to go to this place, even though he didn't know where he was going. My wife actually sent me that when I was in prison. She sent me that verse. Um, that was very kind of her. That was very flattering. But the point is, we're going to be okay. To me, everything seems like these are very exciting opportunities. But make no mistake, it's a period of mass chaos. But if you don't have the ability, if you haven't been sharpening your discernment, if you haven't been looking inward, if you haven't been sort of trusting in this, then if you're trying to hold on to a fake dying world, you are going to really suffer consequences of mental health crises. Things are just not going to make sense to you. Nothing's going to make sense. Your entire reality is going to collapse. There are going to be people who legitimately lose their minds this year in particular. because this is the year where the direct action starts. I'm telling you, people are gonna lose their fucking minds. They are gonna have no ability to be able to deal with the fact that Q is real, that Obama was a pedophile, that they did steal all this money, that there was a plan to genetically eliminate them, that the vaccines were designed to kill and sterilize people. They're not gonna be able to handle this stuff. They are gonna lose their minds. That's why I said online, you gotta stay away from these people because they are in the process. They are grasping on to this reality, and a lot of them they're doing it in very, very violent ways. So just stay away, you know, stay away, manifest your best world, make yourself of use. So that's what I have to say about a lot of that stuff. Timeline's collapsing big time. I found the same in my business. Got to a place where I thought I'd be 6 months down the line. Has taken 3 weeks. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how much faster things are happening. They're happening so fast that like you're almost like not ready for it. Felt that the lines are being drawn, specifically the lines between good and evil. I have no doubt good wins, but there are plenty of people who align with evil, and it's showing. Yes, the people who are cut off from their higher self, from God, they are a lot of them have been manipulated and controlled. Whether they are truly evil people or just, people who are well, the thing is like it almost doesn't matter because very few people are like, I'm gonna wholly and fully consciously give myself over. It's more of a gradual process of acting out of integrity for a long time and then being totally subsumed by it. Like eventually you have gone so far down that path, you don't even know what light looks like anymore. I do think eventually the door does get shut. And I think some of the things you see with some of these celebrities, like people who sold their soul, like, things like Justin Bieber, if you watch some of their content, it's almost like they want to come back, but they can't. It's like too much at this point. They went too far. Um, so let's talk about Greenland. Okay. Greenland is very important. I was really happy to see someone say it like this. So a lot of this stuff is, blah blah blah. Yes, this is about projecting real power around the world. That's what Greenland is about at first. So this is what Trump in Venezuela, in Iran. We got a taste of it last year with the Iran conflict, but now we're really seeing it. America's not afraid to project power on the world. We're showing that there's no more consensus-based politics. There are real power politics, and we are doing what we want for that. Now, but here's one of the things here that's I think is very important. Greenland is very important to our national security, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But this is really another practical consideration here from the geopolitical standpoint. Is this isn't about Denmark; it is about NATO, and it's about Europe. NATO is a fake organization at this point. It was a fake organization for a long time because we had Turkey in there, and Turkey has this completely different interest. After the Cold War was over, like Turkey's now has like an Islamist government. So the fact that we even had Turkey in NATO, I was like, this is not a Western alliance. Okay, Turkey does not belong in this. But now it's also like NATO, it's something that the Europeans are using to try to they're trying to manipulate the United States. And this is what it doesn't work because you have a president who doesn't care and is using American power for American interests. So what do? They sent like 15 people to Greenland. Germany, Norway, UK sent one person, France. They sent like less than 20 people to Greenland to basically say this is NATO territory. Okay, well, NATO is what we want it to be. We pay the bills in NATO. We man the troops. So, like it's our armies, it's our money. But you're gonna try to say, no, no, we all have equal say. Like it's this not this isn't happening anymore. So to quote this guy, he's using Greenland to trigger a stress test on NATO's core coherence. Every ally must now declare, are you willing to fracture the economic spine of the alliance to defend symbolic Arctic norms? Most aren't. They're bluffing. UK statement is a mask. Righteous posture wrapped around hidden fear. They know Trump is collapsing the Westphalian consensus from the inside. Greenland is a symbolic override. He's saying the post-war structure is over. Security, trade, deterrence, and alliance are no longer bundled. You will now pay to play, obey to trade, and align or be excluded. It's a full remapping of who gets to define legitimacy. What he's actually building is a sovereignty auction. Greenland is just the opening bid. He's daring the old world to stop him, and they can't. Because they're addicted to American security, trapped in their own post-industrial fragility, and terrified of being the first to break ranks. But they've already lost. It's the end of Europe's illusion of parity. This is a very important thing. Europe has the potential to be so great as a continent. I love Europe. I always have to say this. I love Europe. Our demands as Americans for Europe is rebuild your economies so that, develop some sort of sensible energy policy, stop replacing your ethnic population, and learn to provide for your own defense. And that's like, oh, you're anti-European. Like, you guys, like, this is just pathetic. And when I see any kind of European trying to somehow justify this, like, you just want to be like, don't you feel humiliated? We're going to humiliate you more. That's what we're going to do. We're going to keep humiliating you until you get it. Look at this crock of shit right here. I'm going to tell you that, do I have it here? Yeah. So this is how you know Nigel Farage is not really a good guy. You always have to use the Trump litmus test. These tariffs will hurt us. If Greenland is vulnerable to malign influence, then have another look at Diego Garcia. We'll just take Diego Garcia from you too. What do you think? You think that somehow that's off? Oh, we're just gonna not let you use Diego Garcia anymore. No, Nigel, we'll just take that too, because what the fuck are you gonna do about it, buddy? What the fuck are you gonna do about it? And we're also taking Canada, by the way, and we're gonna take Australia and New Zealand because they're gonna need to be protected from China. That's what this is all about. It's about securing resources. This is a big picture thing that we have to talk about. I was planning on doing this at the end of the show, but we got to talk about it right now because I've already led into it. The cabal is going down. Okay, this is not a question. It has been decided that there are only 3 countries that matter in the world. Europe could have been one of them. India maybe could be one of them, although it's way too corrupt and it's not working with the good guys right now. But we understand correctly that there are only 3 countries in the world that really matter: America, Russia, and China. We have an accord with Russia. We do not have major issues with Russia. There are definitely testy, we have different interests sometimes, and you better believe that Trump is absolutely not going to. Trump is always going to try to get the best deal. Okay, he's always going to get the best deal, but it's very clear if you can't see this yet, we're going to give Ukraine to Russia. We're going to give Ukraine to Russia. The reason we're going to do that, I don't think Trump wants to do that, actually. I think Trump would love to keep what he can, at least. But the problem is that in this situation, in this domain, Russia has the advantage and the higher level of interest. And America does not want to. That's why Trump wanted a deal. I mean, it's not just because he wanted to actually save lives, which I believe, but a deal was a way that we could then actually get access to those rare earth metals. But Europe wants those metals. Europe actually wants that stuff. And we do consider Europe to be our prime, our prime threats are, the cabal, which is based in the European governments, and of course in the left in our own country, but it's the Commonwealth and the EU, right? And after that is China. China's a little bit more nuanced. And after that's Russia. Trump would love to have gotten a better deal. Give Russia the Donbass, have some, and then we get the rare earth metals in the rest of Ukraine, and Russia stops fighting with it, right? Russia was willing to go along with that because they would then get, the war would be over and they'd get American investment in their own economic, resources, the resources across the country. But it's also hard to say, was Putin just being crafty because he knew that it's like a win-win, I guess you could argue, but he knows that they're not, because the Europeans want Ukraine for themselves, so never end the war. They can't let this war end. So I think Trump understanding that he actually can't negotiate what he wants in Ukraine with the Europeans not playing ball. So I think he's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to stress about this. But we're taking the Western Hemisphere for sure. It's non-negotiable. And the main threat that we have is China, because China's the one that's really been involving itself in all of these different locations around the world. China's trying to get all these resources, right? Now, the difference between China, our dynamic with China and our dynamic with the Commonwealth EU, right, is that China has been doing things to harm the United States, but we don't view China's actions as, how do I put this? It's different when your own ally is selling you out and working against you and trying to actually destroy you. China's using our weakness it's happy to have America become weak because that gives it relative advantage. China's acting not in good faith, but is not acting as somebody who is, let's say, deal impossible, right? The cabal, these people are psychopaths. They're not reasonable. That's why when Trump says he has a good relationship with Xi, it's because, look, the Chinese government gets it. They're not used to seeing this. And I think it's a big wake-up call for them. They may have been believing some of their own propaganda about how much of an advantage that they had against America. By the way, all those BRICS people, how are they feeling right now? Yeah, America still got that big fucking dick. We still got that dick to swing around. I got to be honest, after seeing so much incompetence for such a long time, even I was a little bit wondering about it. And yes, these are surgical strikes. We're not talking about, could America sustain a prolonged conflict like Russia's been doing? I don't know. But the point is, we've definitely shown people that you shouldn't, we have, having Bush and Obama and having Trump's first term, having a cabinet that was not supportive, only minimal, improvements were made, but only minimal ones. And then having Biden, that's how much, I think people got the wrong impression. The power and potential is still very much there. We're doing our own purge, and we're taking back the military. It's going to become stronger than ever. Well, this is the thing. Do you think military action will be used on Greenland, or just a straight deal will be done? What military action? What military action? We're going to blow up a dog sled? a deal's going to be done. I mean, this is the whole thing. We just hit them with tariffs, right? All the countries that sent troops to Greenland, 10% tariff starting February 1st, goes up to 25% by June 1st if no deal's reached. Nigel Farage is all upset about that. It's not your fucking business. Notice how Poland keeps its mouth shut at least? Poland does that because it understands its position with the United States. People are very disrespectful. I would love it if they actually had the power, because we do have this, this shared background, this shared culture. I would love it if they actually had the ability to stand up against us. I would love it if Europe came together and they were number 4 at the table. They're going to have a big problem though, because, and it might actually be over for them. And I'm going to tell you why it's over for them. It might be over for them as like truly sovereign countries. They might just end up being satellites of the US or Russia, depending on where that line is drawn. Here's the reason. The reason I say that. The reason I say that is because it's very clear that we are moving to a stage where, because of AI and technological advancements, we are in a rapidly closing window. A rapidly closing window of where are you going to fall economically? Where are you going to end up? Now, I'm not a doomer. I think that there's always going to be opportunities. And I think, it is going to be easier to be entrepreneurial. But there's an argument to be made here that, and if there's no protections around it, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. This is going to be the big political topics. Like, the cabal is the acute thing, but the cabal is done. Like, you guys got to understand, I don't want to hear any doom, not that you guys doom in my audience, but I don't want to hear any of this like doomer stuff. The cabal is toast. It's all done by 2028. There's no question it's done by 2028 across Europe. It's done. All these governments are going to be gone by 2028 in Europe. It may be faster than that. But I'm going to say 2028. Keep it, keep it cautious. Keep expectations accordingly. But these governments are going to collapse across Europe. And then the big thing is going to be remigration. But it's also going to be what is going to happen to people when corporations not only don't need the number of workers that they currently have, but AI is producing all sorts of ways to take people's money and to, confuse them. And you are going to see much more of a return to physical community and vetted internet communities, because there's going to be it's going to be very atomized, because there is going to be this tendency, and it's not going to, I can tell you astrologically, I don't see some mass techno control state, because that's Pluto and Capricorn, right? We're in Pluto and Aquarius. More and more Aquarian energy means more and more decentralization, more and more individual empowerment. But it still stands to be said that by the end of this decade, a lot of these jobs are going to disappear. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be ways to make money. I reject that premise. But you can say this, economically speaking, this is a different lens to look at stuff. But have you noticed that there is a really, really big push to get energy and resources? Particularly, now I don't know how much of the silver squeeze is just about this, but silver is an industrial metal now. Copper, of course, is super going up as well, right? But all this stuff is related to electronics, energy conduction. So when we talk about, the powers dividing the world up, Russia, China, and America, notice that we're securing our resources in this hemisphere, and we are actively trying to block China in particular, Russia has all of the resources it needs pretty much. So what Russia requires is more investment to be able to develop those resources. China, however, is super resource hungry. But America also is resource hungry. We have lots of resources, but we need more security over them, and a lot of it's blocking measures. So we're going to take the Americas, and I think, part of the reason we're going to take over Canada, and I think probably in some similar fashion Australia and New Zealand, is because Britain is trying to, in their own way, to try to undermine America and gain some leverage, because it doesn't have any power of its own except for what it had financially, which it's losing. So it's constantly playing this game of trying to get somebody else. Let's pin China and America against each other. China and America are not going to have a direct confrontation. First off, because I think China knows it's going to lose, but neither country really wants that. America is just simply establishing where the boundary lines are. Trump's a ruthless negotiator, and he's using American power to American advantage. China understands this. China was, of course, happy to have Britain sell Canada, Australia, and New Zealand to them. And this is what this is what Canada's talking about right now, right? Canada's government's talking about basically giving the country to China. We're going to make pipelines and ports and, well, too late, guys. And by the way, did you not just see what we did to Venezuela? And now we're taking Greenland. Do you think that Canada is not going to exist as a country anymore? We're going to take Alberta. Alberta may become a state. We're going to take Alberta, and the rest of the country will become, it won't immediately join the United States. I do think eventually Canada will become, the Canadian provinces will become American states. But we're not going to just give it to them immediately, because there's massive indoctrination issues that you have. It makes a lot more sense, unless you have people who truly are on the same page with America, it makes much more sense just to basically have them be a client puppet government, which is what we're going to do to it. We'll take the parts, annex the parts we absolutely need, which is Western Canada. We take Yukon and Northwest Territories, none of it. And then you take Manitoba to British Columbia. That's not a huge amount of people. Big picture, it's 20 million people, maybe, not even that. Probably 15 million people. Maybe less than that. Maybe it's like 12 million. And Ontario, Quebec, I mean, the country will fragment, and there'll be little protectorates or whatever. Just like Greenland's going to be in free association with the US, whatever the fuck that means. It means that you can run your own local stuff, but you have no foreign policy. That's what it means. It means do whatever you want with local code and regulation, but you have zero foreign policy. Canada is not going to have a foreign policy anymore. That's where it's going. So this is the problem for Europe. Europe had a potential, if they actually ran the European Union as a pro-Europe system, and they hadn't been trying to deindustrialize the continent. They hadn't been trying to, like, their plan, this is what their plan was. I want you guys to understand what is the whole thing with this climate change stuff, all this bullshit. Because everything, this is all flipped. Because everybody needs energy, because running these data centers for AI takes enormous amounts of energy. That's what they're understanding. They need, labor is less and less of an issue. That's why there's going to be remigration also. It's not just that it's destroyed these. You can't have a techno-futurist state. You can't have, a country that's going to the stars when you have Somalians running around taking government money. There's going to be denaturalizations and deportations, but you got to also look at this from the cynical economic angle. That labor is not going to be needed. It's not going to be needed. The arguments that we needed to have third world labor, in order to, which was never really even, I mean, marginally true, but when they're taking welfare money, it becomes a lot less true. So what happens is that with robots, we don't need those kind of people are massive liabilities across the board for the country. And so they're going to be gone. And you are going to have Palantir, and Palantir is going to be checking to see which people have assimilated, which people have contributed, and if they didn't, they're out. They're out. But the big thing here, right? The big thing is that the economic, like Europe, because they don't have any resources, their whole plan with climate change was to try to make the entire world like not need it. But they're, I mean, I actually think I have less and less respect for these people, because how do they think this was going to work? You're going to have a control grid, but the control grid needs energy, but you don't have any energy. Like, I don't know what, they clearly didn't think it through. They clearly didn't think it through. But that's the problem, is that they were trying to lower everybody else rather than do what they could to get resources themselves or become really helpful partners operating in good faith with, like, the United States, Canada, right? That we could all develop together and move forward as a civilization together. They instead were like, no, everybody, we're going to try to stop all the countries with resources. We're going to take Russia's resources for ourselves, and we're going to make the United States, not want to develop anything. We're going to deindustrialize the United States, and that way we're not going to be at a disadvantage. Well, the problem now is that even if Europe did get its act together this decade, which is going to be a real mess, because maybe you're going to get some actual shared European identity as a result of the remigration and whatnot. I hope so. Absolutely hope so. But here's the problem. Everybody else will have gotten the resources. It doesn't mean that they're not going to share, but you're going to be paying more than everybody else. So when I look at it from that perspective, I think maybe Europe is just going to be a vassal of the US or Russia, depending on where the line is. Because I don't know how they're going to be able to do anything on their own, because they don't have the resources for it, and they missed the window to acquire them. They could have maybe done that in Africa. Russia and China have nudged them out of Africa. So that's where things are going with this. But there is a real, and I have this, I don't want to be like Doomer. Remember Doomer, right? The eventual state of labor under automation has been understood by smart men for about 160 years, since the timeline to full automation was unclear. Technocrats and some Marxists suspected it in the 20th century. The last 14 years in AI match models that predict post-labor economy by 2035, 2044, 2045. My side note here, Age of Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius ends in 2044. Okay, so this sounds accurate on a lot of metrics, right? Vinge, Legge, Kurzweil, Moravec, and others were unclear on details, but it's obvious that if you showed them the present snapshot in, say, 1999, they'd have said, wow, yep, this is the end game. Almost all hard puzzle pieces are placed. The current technological stack is almost certainly not the final one. That doesn't matter. It will clearly suffice to build everything needed for a rapid transition to the next one, data, software, hardware, and it looks extremely dubious that the final human-made stack will be paradigmatically much more complex than what we've done in these 14 years. Post-labor economy equals post-consumer market equals permanent underclass for virtually everyone in state oligarchic power centralization by default. So I disagree with this because I don't think the energy supports mass centralization. This is my side point here. However, we have to take this very seriously because what is it telling you? Okay, let's continue here. An AI takeover as an alternative scenario is cope for nihilists as in a red herring for autistic quokkas. Optimizing for compliance will be easier and ultimately more incentivized than optimizing for novel cognitive work. There will be a decidedly simian ruling class, though it may choose to become something else, but that's not our business. We won't have much business at all. The serious business will be about the techno capital deepening and gradually expanding beyond Earth. Okay, this is very important. I don't want to I don't think that you should be panicky or anything like that, but you've seen the AI slop going all over the place, right? All over the timeline. All over the timeline, right? It's going to get so much worse. It's going to be hard to know what's real and what's not, which is why I'm saying that there's going to be more retreating to communities. But I do think this is the time to really work hard and make money. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's a time to work hard and make money, develop yourself because you do need to develop yourself in order to make more money, right? But I genuinely think if you're broke by 2030, I'm not saying that there's no future for you, but I do think that there is a massive separation that's occurring. And we've talked about the genetic bottleneck with some people having families and others, going into the hive mind, so to speak, just consuming slop all the time. I do think that there's going to be an underclass. It's going to look different. A lot of things are going to look very different. So, you can see that there's a really big race here to develop the premier AI and to have the resources to back it up. I don't know if that means every single thing is going to be controlled and every single thing is going to be monitored. I don't have that in my heart, but I will say that what we can this is a really important time to build wealth because it's going to be harder to break out in a way to fortunes are going to calcify into families much more easily. The only thing that may change this is that money itself matters a lot less. But if we're becoming like a space oriented civilization, which I think is the 2040s, I genuinely believe that. I think the next 15 years, it's all about remigration, the technological advancing, the redrawing of global power and borders. 2040s, you're talking about some really sci-fi world stuff. That's what I see happening. And we're in the process right now of bridging there. But the ones who have capital are going to be in a very different situation than the ones who don't. Because AI really facilitates the concentration of capital. To break through the genetic bottleneck, is it best to couple with a really intelligent woman? Well, you should marry an intelligent woman, right? You should marry an intelligent woman if you want to have intelligent kids and if you want to be with somebody who's not going to be a liability. Stupid women are terrible to be with. It's terrible to be with a stupid woman, especially today when they have the entitlement. And this is this CABAL show. It's a little bit different show than the Dynamic Man podcast where we go into that stuff. But it's worth mentioning here. Your wife should be someone who's going to help you build. I don't mean that she's acting like a man, building like a man, but she should be this support. She should be a motivating factor. For me, my wife is very much like an anchoring point. Home world, everything, right? And she's very intelligent. So I don't think, more than if you're really super high IQ, like any woman over 120 is going to be good for you. Not that you ever test for IQ stuff, but the point here is you definitely want to have an intelligent woman, but you have to also like be attracted to her. You also have to like her. You also have to enjoy being with her. So it's one of many things. And the reason I say like don't think so much about intelligence when picking a woman is because it's kind of like one of those implied traits. Like you can't have a good conversation with a woman if she's stupid. If you're a smart guy, you can't have a good conversation with a woman who's stupid. I mean, I guess you can. You can have like she can be fun in some of the things she says, but if she's really below your IQ, like you're not going to be able to talk about a lot of things. It's like pulling teeth. There's just not a lot there. But yeah, I mean, intelligent woman is good. On topic of remigration, to what extent do you see that happening in the US? Tens of millions? Yeah, definitely tens of millions. I don't know. I mean, look, Department of Homeland Security is talking about 100 million deportations. Now, they just post it as a meme, but you don't say that kind of stuff unless you're actually, I mean, Stephen Miller, actually, I think he said he wanted 100 million people in the US, but Stephen Miller definitely wants 100 million deportations, right? We have a population of 330, I don't know, 350 if you include all the illegals from Biden. 100 million is actually reasonable. 30 million illegals, 70 million denaturalizations, and just simply deportations from people who haven't been citizens. So I think it could get to be 100 million. It's going to be minimum 50 million though. But I think it'll get to 100 million. I would say in America, in the last 30 years, 60% of the immigrants who came to the country have been net negatives to the country. Unequivocally. I'm not even trying to do like, relative value. I think 40%, 30 to 40% have been good. You could argue that they weren't good in that it affected some of the cohesion, whatever. But the bottom line is 30 to 40% net contributors and love the country, assimilated. As far as I'm concerned, man, that to me gets to be the murky moral territory where you're like, oh, those people have to go too because they're from some other place. Let's have that conversation when we deal with the real stuff and let's see how things look. My heart is not in that. But the thing is, my heart doesn't have to be in that kind of remigration because why? It doesn't have to be in that because if you get rid of the 60% who clearly were not, then the problem's going to feel fixed. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm trying to make some argument when 80% of them were contributors economically, but affected cultural stuff. Then you're like, that's just not the case. It's not the case. So very clear benchmark, like very clear criteria. Are you a net contributor? Are you a net contributor? Do you actually support this country? Do you love this country? Right? I mean, if you are fulfilling both of those criteria, then I think it's going to be a hard argument. And I don't think that Trump wants those people gone because they're not the real issue. But I would say like non-Europeans in Europe, you're talking about 10 to 20%. Maybe 20 to 30% good. America is much higher though, because we have so many Hispanic immigrants, and Hispanics are a real mixed bag. There's some really based, amazing Hispanics. Absolutely love the country, hardworking. You have a lot of them who are just, just not anything to write home about. You know what I mean? So, all right. I'm gonna go through some last things here. We got about 5 minutes left. I wanna hit this last topic here. This is as I said, this is Eurocucks on Suicide Watch. France's President Macron calls for the EU to activate its most potent trade weapon against the US, calling for use for the EU's anti-coercion instrument. It would restrict US access to the EU market, potentially blocking US banks from EU procurement and targeting US tech giants. This trade weapon has never been used before. Let me tell you something, guys. This would be absolute suicide for Europe. It would hurt America. It would destroy Europe. And America can retaliate economically in so much bigger ways than this. This is all bullshit. If they do pull this, it's that they're absolute desperation right now. This is it's a financial nuclear bomb. But when you only have one nuclear bomb, the other side has like 1,000 nuclear bombs. We cut their QSIPs. We cut their access to Eurodollar system in retaliation. We can do that overnight. The entire European financial system collapses. So, I mean, don't take this kind of stuff seriously. Europe has no cards. They only have symbolic gestures, and they hope that people will fall for it. The emperor has no clothes. That's why it's far more likely that something like this is going to happen. Bank of England urged to plan for a financial crisis triggered by official announcement confirming the existence of aliens. Put contingencies in place to prevent collapse. So is this going to be the Project Bluebeam thing? Is that what this is going to be? Project Bluebeam. That's what's going to happen. They have to somehow justify why their entire system's going to collapse. It's not because they fucked up everything. Let's talk about this. This is Russia's special envoy to the United States. More Q posting, okay? Transatlantic unity is over. Leftist, globalist, EU, UK elites failed. Storm coming warning. To what Romeo was saying earlier, saying 2 to 3 weeks, right? 2 to 3 weeks for the collapse of Ukraine. Now, I don't know if it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks, but I will tell you this. Very end of January and then mid-February, we lose those outer planets in Pisces and they go into Aries, right? We also have an eclipse 3 days after, I think. I don't remember which planet, but Saturn and Neptune are both leaving Pisces, right? I don't know which one goes first. I think Neptune is in February. So whatever. The point is, they're out. Could be timing. You're gonna have the domestic stuff here. Because look at this. This is how I opened the show, right? This is how I advertised the show. Members of the Minnesota National Guard are on standby, ready to assist local law enforcement and public safety agencies. If our members are activated, they will be wearing reflective vests, as pictured here, to help distinguish them from other agencies in similar uniforms. What they're basically trying to imply here, even though they're couching this officially as just, we're going to be protecting protesters and we're not ICE, so don't attack us, is that they're trying to say that we're going to deploy the National Guard against ICE. It's coming. The only problem is the National Guard going to listen to the governor? Is he going to listen to Tim Walz? Is he going to listen to Donald Trump? I think they're going to listen to Donald Trump. About 1,500 active duty Army paratroopers from the 11th Airborne Division in Alaska have been put on alert for potential deployment to Minnesota. Guys, it's coming. It's coming. Trump set this all up. The frauds everywhere across the entire country. Do not for a second worry about the midterm elections. You're going to see heads rolling big time. And these shit libs are going to get the fucking boot on their neck and they're going to get crushed. They're going to get crushed in such a humiliating fashion that the Democratic Party is going to cease to exist by the time this is all over. We're going to enter into the era of good feelings, just like we had during President Monroe. There's not going to be a new political party, or if there is, it's going to be a completely new political party that's going to take some things from the left. The left is going to be effectively destroyed. It's going to be gone because we are going to deport 100 million people, and most of the Democratic leaders are going to be in prison or executed. And the henchmen and all their financial henchmen are going to be crushed by the military, and the financial backers are going to lose their money in their own lives, most likely in the entire process. Bold statement, but I'm sticking to it. That's it for this week, guys, on COVID Cabal. We'll see what the next week holds. Things are getting very exciting. And by the way, this is very interesting, actually. Minnesota is a huge data center hub. Very interesting. There's always different layers to this stuff. I didn't talk about some of the esoteric stuff with Greenland, which I meant to say, but is it about Argatha? Is it about the entrance to Hyperborea? I bet that there's some stuff going on in Greenland that's important for that. I've heard about like, oh, there's an alien vessel there. I don't know. But I bet that there's some truth to these things. The last thing I just want to say real quick. This guy, Health Ranger, is wrong about everything. So if you see this tweet, he's saying the insurrection is going to happen next week. It's not going to happen next week. Insurrection Act will not be declared next week. I can tell you that because the astrology doesn't support it. But anything this guy says, you can bet is going to be wrong. Cost of this operation, blood in the streets of America, civil revolt. Final tribal war over America, where Democrats want a giant, blah, 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 blah. Tyranny will continue until the dollar collapses, no matter who sits in the White House. Dollar's not collapsing. This guy's a fucking retard. Dollar's not collapsing. So just remember that you're going to have real things be distorted with bullshit. Anything you see from Health Ranger is consistently wrong. The guy's a fucking retard. He's actually, I think he's an asset because he's always just spreading misinformation. We're not falling for this stuff in season 2, COVID Cabal. Anyway, guys, I love you. That's it for today. I will see you next week. Take care.